this webinar by Philanthropia. My name is Eva. I've been working with Philanthropia for many years now, and I am an international fundraiser. I have worked and lived in Nepal for a long time, for about 7 years, and I've been working with many organizations all across the globe on their fundraising strategy, their communication strategy, and on their grant writing. So that is kind of my experience. And today we are going to talk about social media for NGOs. I'm really excited that so many of you joined again, because this is such an important topic. And I hope, I can share some insights with you. At the end of the webinar, we will have time for questions. So if there's anything you want to ask me about social media use for NGOs, about this topic, anything else related to proposal writing, to grant writing, etc., then you will have a chance to do so at the end. You see at the bottom, you already found the chat box. So that's where you can network, you can chat with others, ask others to connect, etc., and just leave comments. Then you also have the Q&A box. That's where you can leave questions for me, because by experience, we know that there are going to be so many comments, so it's difficult for me to find the questions. If you put your questions for me in the Q&A box, then I can find them and I can get back to them in the end. So again, for networking, for just leaving comments, introducing yourself, etc., use the chat. And for questions for me, please use the Q&A box. I also want to extend a warm welcome to people joining on YouTube Live, because we are also streaming this live on YouTube. Really happy that you joined from there. For everybody who's not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do so. We upload all of our free webinars there. We have a lot of other free resources on our YouTube channel, so please also join us there if you haven't already. Okay, so I think we can jump right in with the presentation. One second. Keeping up with the connection problems. Okay. Now, Zoom, would you please let me do it? Okay, here we go. I think by now you should all see my screen to see the presentation. Social media to reach your fundraising goals. Social media use for NGOs. This is today's topic. So the agenda, we will have these couple of topics that we are going to talk about. First, an introduction, social media for NGOs, why you should use it, why is it good to take advantage of this. Then we'll talk about finding your own voice and what that means. You have to find a way to address people, kind of a voice that you want to use on your social media channels. And we will talk about how you can choose that and what are the different communication goals that you can achieve with that. Then we'll talk about why NGOs need social media. So what are the use cases that you can kind of make out of this? And we'll talk a little bit about making a successful campaign, a fundraising campaign on social media, just briefly looking into this, because this touches a lot of crowdfunding stuff. And we do have webinars and articles just about crowdfunding that I can reference then. So getting started, social media for NGOs. Why is that so important? Well, social media are a part of online fundraising for NGOs, so of any efforts that you can make online to get funding and to connect with potential donors, with supporters, but also with the target group. It's a tool for reaching out, for doing PR work, for making your organization known more, etc. We have all these different platforms that we will talk about in a bit. So in general, social media for NGOs, yes or no? We have here, you see the overview of all the different icons of different Some of them are also like more software, not strictly social media, but should you do it? Should you use social media as an NGO or not? Well, the easy answer is yes, definitely take advantage of the opportunities, the chances that social media show you. The more difficult question, or the more difficult answer to this question, is, well, look at your resources first. Because a very, very common mistake that many NGOs make is that they think about social media, and then they open accounts on every single platform that they can think of. So they have an Instagram, they have a Facebook, they have a Twitter, they have a TikTok account, etc. But then after a while, they realize they don't really have the resources to do kind of good work on there. They don't have the resources to post consistently interesting stuff, to have stories, etc. So then they have all these accounts, but there's nothing on the accounts. They're not, there's no pictures on them, there's no updates on them, etc. And I think in that case, if you don't have the resources, then don't do it. Because when I find an NGO that I think is interesting, what I tend to do is I go look for them on social media, obviously. If I don't find them, then maybe I will keep looking and look for their website. But if I find a super outdated Facebook page that has been updated last time 2 years ago, and there's no current updates and nothing on their Twitter, nothing on their Instagram, that makes me wonder, is this NGO still working? So if I don't find any social media profiles, I still think, okay, maybe this NGO deliberately made the decision to not have those profiles. But if I find them and they are outdated, for me as a potential donor, that is the sign that says, well, don't bother. They don't seem to be working anymore. So I think social media profiles, social media platforms can be a huge help for you to make your cause known more, to reach out, etc. But at the same time, they can be a liability if you do not keep them up to date. And up to date doesn't mean every day, or not even every week, but every month at least. I think you should post something on your social media platforms if you do have them, because otherwise it just makes you look bad, and that's what you want to avoid, no? So you definitely have to make a strategic decision, and later on we will also talk about how you can choose which social media platforms are a good fit for you. Yeah, you definitely have to look into your resources and decide if you can do this, if this is a task that your organization is up to, or maybe not. Also, this you see that in the title, social media, the more profiles, the better. I think you already know the answer to this comment, kind of. No, that's not the truth. It's the more, if you have all the resources, if you have 3 people that can work on your social media profiles, then yes, of course, try to take advantage of as many platforms as you can. But probably you don't have that, because most of you come from small grassroots NGOs. So probably social media is just one task that gets tagged onto your job description, which is already very long. So you probably won't have the time and the resources and the people to keep 8 profiles updated. So then you really have to choose strategically which ones you want to use. But in general, and we'll look at some data on the coming slides, social media is a must if you want to function in the online world, because it is a great way to reach out, to connect with people, and yeah, to make your cause known, to get more supporters, to reach more beneficiaries, more project participants, whatever your goal might be. Social media is a free way of using all those connections that are out there that you should not miss out on. So again, now we're talking or looking at some slides with a little bit of data on social media use to, again, emphasize why it is so important that you do use these channels. So in total, in the entire world, there's almost 5 billion social media users. Obviously, users doesn't mean unique individuals necessarily, because some people have 1 or 2 profiles, but it's almost 5 billion people using social media, profiles using social media. Number is growing every quarter by huge numbers. Like in this case, it was 23 million people or profiles getting added every month, every quarter, so every 3 months. Yeah, on the yearly basis, again, this is growing. The average daily time spent using social media is 2.5 hours. So the average person spends 2.5 hours per day on social media, just scrolling, looking at stuff. And more stuff gets done through social media networks. So in my generation, I'm almost 40 now. When I look for something, I'd Google it. But my daughter, who's 13, when she looks for something, she goes on Instagram and looks for stuff, or she goes on TikTok. She wants to learn something. She looks for videos on TikTok instead of YouTube, which I would do. But all of them are social media platforms. Obviously, Google is a search engine, but the other are social media platforms that you can use for your NGO to be found, because it will not be very long until people will look for organizations to donate to on social media. And again, using social media to just get more reach, to get more people to know about your organization, to like your organization, to feel some kind of connection, is becoming increasingly more easy, especially with the next generations. So 2.5 hours per day, the average person spends on social media. It's a very high number, and you as an NGO should try to take advantage of some of that time, I would say. Yeah, people use different platforms, obviously. Social media users versus total population, it's almost 60% do use. And then if you just look at age 18 plus, which is the target group that you want to talk to, probably if you are looking for donations, then we're almost at 80%. It's a crazy number if you think of the world population. So yeah, you cannot afford to not use social media if you want to take advantage of all these chances that are out there. Now, if we look at the different platforms, the most liked platform still is Facebook, with almost 3 billion people on it. So you have the most people on Facebook. Then it's YouTube. So watching videos, etc. YouTube is a little bit different. It's not a strictly social media platform, but it can be used in a very similar way. Then we have WhatsApp, Instagram, WeChat, that is mostly in China, and then TikTok. But I think maybe these numbers are a little bit outdated. TikTok is growing at a very quick pace. And more and more people are signing up for TikTok. So that's something to think about. And the other ones are a little bit smaller and sometimes local. But and then you see Twitter and Pinterest at the bottom there. Twitter, I think, is a bit of a tricky situation now with all the things that are happening, all the changes that are being made. So I can't really talk about what will happen to Twitter. But it's still a very, very influential company. I'm not sure if it's still Twitter, though, or if I'm supposed to call it X now. I don't really keep up with the developments over there. Then if we look at the division of age groups, this is very important, because as you will see, we'll talk about that on one of the next slides, is social media is a great tool for communication, but it has to be targeted still, because when you develop a communication strategy, which you should have for your organization, you have to define who is your target group in this, who do you want to talk to? Because it's a big difference if we reach many people, but they are all 16-year-old girls because they think the content you post is super interesting. They are probably not going to be people who donate to you or to your charity, to your organization. If your communication goal is to enhance donations, then you have to talk to people who can do that. And those are probably people that are a bit older and have access to a credit card or to some kind of payment form that you can actually receive. No? So you have to be very clear about what you want to achieve with your communication. We'll have a slide about that in a bit, and also who you want to talk to. And then you can use social media in a very targeted way. So here you can see in this overview, where the first one we have is YouTube, but the second one is Facebook. And if you just compare Facebook to Snapchat, and I think, so this data is from 2019. If you would look at it today, the Snapchat is basically replaced, not completely replaced, but it's TikTok nowadays, because that is the platform that many young people use. So you can compare here Facebook, the youngest, so 18 to 24, this doesn't even go under 18, is 67%. But out of the next age group, 25 to 29, you have 84% using Facebook. If you then look at Snapchat, and I think, like I said, I think the numbers are very similar. If you look at TikTok today, it's 47%. And if you look at the oldest age group, 65 plus, that difference is even higher. So on Facebook, it's still 46%. But on Snapchat, it's only 3%. And it's going to look very similar to that on TikTok. So if your target group that you want to talk to is people 50 years and older, because you have identified them as the most, as the group of donors that gives you the most money, and that is who you want to talk to, then making a profile on TikTok or Snapchat is not going to be your best move, because you will not reach those people there. You have to understand where they are. And then the next step is you have to understand what kind of content they react to. It's very clear, I think, with videos, if you like this short form content that is out there now today, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok, the small videos, it's just like less than a minute and quick cuts, etc. That is what young people like and are used to. But if you throw that kind of content at someone 60 years plus, they will probably be overwhelmed because they are not used to that kind of content. So again, you have to understand your target group and then choose the platform that you can reach them on, and then also choose the kind of content that you can reach them with. For that, you really need to research your target group and understand that. But that is part of developing your communication strategy. And you should really do that in great detail. So yeah, here you can see, again, in summary, how the different age groups kind of represent on the the platforms. Facebook, everybody, I think it's been 10 years that people say Facebook is dead, and Facebook is definitely not dead. So I think you should still try to use Facebook, work it, and you can see that you can reach most age groups on Facebook still. The other platforms are a bit more specific, and you can only reach certain age groups there. Again, this is split up and more acute data, I think, from last year. The most popular social media platforms, again, you have Facebook, Instagram, and then TikTok is popping up here at the top. Twitter, again, is still very high. So yeah, those are the platforms that that most people are using. And I think you can see that Facebook, I would say, is the best bet to get started, because Facebook has the most users, most age groups are still on Facebook, and you can find the older age groups, which tend to be better donors on Facebook. Yeah, all of these people are represented there. So that is, I think, if you have to kind of divide your resources and you have one platform that you can choose, I would always go with Facebook, because I think there you can get the best return on investment. And Facebook even has platform-based fundraising tools that we will look at very briefly in the end. So I think that is the go-to start platform. This is also globally, just a very quick overview. India has 400 million active Facebook users, US almost 200. Then Indonesia, Brazil, Mexico, all of these countries have very high number of Facebook users, and it's very popular in these countries. So I think it's the best bet to get started with Facebook. It's easy to set up. easy to use. And again, you have the highest reach and you can get started that way. Select the platforms that you want to be on carefully. Again, Facebook is a good start. Instagram, Twitter, they are still very important, especially if you have a project that has visual media. You can use Instagram very well, and Instagram is connected to Facebook, so you can automate a lot of stuff and kind of reuse your content. But those are more targeted, specifically Twitter nowadays, or X, and nobody knows what will happen. So I would not bet on that platform. I wouldn't put too many resources in that right now because nobody knows what's going to happen. And then we have LinkedIn, which we also included here, which is a very interesting platform because it's strictly used for business purposes, for networking in the business world, and many donors, private individuals, but also many foundations can be found on LinkedIn. So I would say it does make sense to have a profile on LinkedIn as well, because there you can make really valuable connections and yeah, get to know what foundations are posting. And it's really, really going to be helpful for you to be present on LinkedIn. You can also discuss this with your team, obviously, especially when you decide and develop a communication strategy. What is their input? Sometimes if somebody has like a super big page already, one of your employees is an influencer or something, maybe you can use that cloud. Discuss with your team what makes sense. Discuss with them who your target group is, where you can find them, how many resources you can actually spend on running your social media accounts, and then choose strategically how you want to start with which platforms you want to start. And again, don't start too many at the same time. If you're not sure, start with something simple. I usually recommend Facebook because yeah, it has the highest reach. You can reach many age groups. It's simple, it's easy. You can post pictures, post videos, post text. That makes a lot of sense to get started there. And make that work very well. Collect followers, post, etc., get engagement. And then when you feel like, oh, we have more free resources, you can start with another one. But don't start with too many at the same time and then have trouble running them all. So now I want to talk with you a little bit about finding your voice, because that is also very, very important on social media. It's part of developing your communication strategy, because you do need to know what you want to achieve with your work on social media. So that means who you want to reach. Do you want to attract potential donors, or do you just want to communicate better with your beneficiaries, with your project participants? Do you want to inform the general public about what you're doing? What is your communication goal? That sounds very simple, and it sounds like something you don't even have to write down, but it is crucial that you understand what you want to achieve with your communication. If you're not sure about that, then you will post very, very different stuff in all directions, and people will notice that at some point. Sometimes if you follow the social media profiles of big companies, you will even notice that when different people are working, if the tonality, if the message that is posted is always very different with the different people, that comes over as very unprofessional. So you should, after defining what you want to achieve, what your communication goals are, who you want to communicate with, you should also decide how you want to do that. Again, what kind of content, but also what voice do you want to use? Is your tonality going to be a funny voice, or should it be casual, or is it very serious because your topics are very serious? Do you want to come across as super professional or more colloquial? That is, again, a strategic decision that you have to should make in a team to be, to then transport that and kind of keep up with it. So you can make some rules about words that you use, words that you don't use, so that everybody who comes up to kind of manage your social media accounts knows which tonality to use. That is really, really crucial to come across as professional, to come across as coherent, because you don't want to be posting one picture of a project saying, oh, we had so much fun in our meeting yesterday, and then the next is going to be like a report in a PDF form and just saying, please read our report. We have collected data, something like that. It should be coherent. It should be kind of the same tonality. You can still post the same content, but the framing always needs to be the same, needs to fit within your frame, within what you have decided that you kind of want to transport. So again, if your main goal is to attract young people to your cause, to just inform them, then your tone should be very colloquial, maybe even a bit funny. You should post short form content, funny videos, stuff with people engage with. If your goal is mainly using social media to communicate with your project participants, then you need to be very matter-of-factly, I guess, because they are already connected with you. So you want to inform them about specific things. You want to transport information. You have to be very clear. You have to have a clear voice. You have to let them know specifically what they need to know, etc. That's going to be a very different feed. Or if you want to attract donors, again, then you want to inform about different things. Then it doesn't matter what time your meeting is tomorrow, because the donors don't want to know that. That would be important information for participants. But then you need to tell the stories behind it. You need to tell the stories of your successful work, of people whose life your organization has changed, etc. So that is all going to be in a very different tone. And that needs to be decided in the team. Everybody needs to be on board, and everybody needs to pull on the same string. Because again, I'm going to tell you a story on the next slide, I think, where it becomes very clear why this is so important. Define your communication goals. What do you want to achieve? Do you want to achieve more donations? Do you want to achieve more followers? Do you want to achieve more attention for your topics? What is it you want to achieve? Write that down in your communication strategy that you work out with a team, with your entire team, because everybody's a communicator. Everybody talks to others and kind of transports these things to the outside, and everybody needs to be on board. And by defining your communication goals, you make the first step towards that, and then develop the strategy. I think we'll hold another webinar about specifically just developing the communication strategy, because that goes for print, for everything as well, not only for online communication and social media, but for social media also specifically. You need to have this strategy. You need to know what you want to achieve with all this, because otherwise, if you just post undirected and you don't follow a strategy, again, your feed will not be coherent. The things you post, and people will start to notice and will be confused. And here, another thing that you have to address in your strategy is how you want to deal with criticism. And here I want to tell you a story, and this is where all of this comes a bit together, because I have a very good example for what can happen when you don't do all these things. Because I used to work for an NGO, for a German NGO actually in Nepal. And we were set up okay. We were a small organization. And we had a Facebook account that 3 or 4 people had access to. And we always had, we would discuss amongst us what to post, and somebody would write a draft, and then everybody would say, yeah, this works. We posted and it was fine. Everything was okay. Then the earthquake happened, and in Nepal in 2015, and suddenly we got flooded. And then I was out of reach because I was in the country, I was in the field, I didn't have internet connection. Everybody else was just working crazy hours suddenly because we had to kind of organize all this first help humanitarian aid phase, and everybody was going crazy. And then because we didn't have a proper strategy, it was like all unwritten rules and nobody knew what to do. Everybody just started to post stuff. And so then one person posted internal information that wasn't supposed to be out there and started like a small shitstorm, because then donors were demanding to know stuff about money that was in that report that was just that was a draft report. Nobody was supposed to know that, not because it was a big secret, but because it was a draft and we were still discussing internally how to deal with this. And it was like in the middle of the first month or the first 2 weeks after the earthquake. And so that happened, and that was a big problem. And then also, I remember the first week after the earthquake, we didn't have electricity. And then after 1 week, I was able to log onto the internet again. And obviously I already was in contact with my family, but I logged onto Facebook and I saw a comic of someone who drew like a comic. And I had to laugh. And because it was such a stressful time for me, I was just so happy that something made me laugh. And because I know who drew the comic and I was already in contact with him. He was a quite famous drawer in Germany. And I had written an email to him before. So I just sent him an email and I said, I'm here in Nepal. The earthquake happened. It's really bad. And I've been a week just delivering tents and trying to help people, etc. But I saw your comic and it made me smile, and that made me very happy. Thank you. And then I went back to the village and kept like for 2 days working. When I came back, my Facebook had exploded because what this guy had done is he took my email and found our crowdfunding campaign and posted this on his page. And he had like hundreds of thousands of followers. And then many people donated, but many people also thought I was a scammer because there was some mistakes in my email because I was in a rush. And it was like we had a shitstorm on our page that I wasn't even aware of because I couldn't log on. And then my German team had to deal with that, and they also didn't know what was happening. And we didn't have anything written down, and it just dissolved into chaos. And for me, was the eye opener how badly these things are needed. Because even if you think, oh, everything is running smoothly, if you get like an extreme situation, and obviously the earthquake was an extreme situation, but if you don't have any rules in place for when everything is normal, then everything will just fall to pieces when things are not normal anymore. And that can happen at any time. No, we saw that after COVID. Things changed so quickly. Many organizations didn't have rules in place, and then it was very difficult to implement something. So that is why it's so important to have a strategy, to have some rules, what to post, how to post, which tone to use, which voice to use, so that your outside communication is always coherent, that you always tell the same message, the same stories, so people don't start to doubt you. Because we never did anything wrong, but suddenly people started to look at this. Oh, one time they posted this, and then next time they posted differently. Just because we were two people and we didn't use the same words and we told the story a little bit differently, they couldn't make it connect. So that was a big mistake. That was really my eye opener on how important this is to post coherently, to have rules, specific words you want to use, wording of how to describe things, etc. And that needs to be put in a strategy, that you need that strategy in your desk to be able to communicate professionally. So yeah, and that also means to have a strategy in place on how to deal with criticism, because what many NGOs do is they delete comments, which is not a good look, or they get salty in replying to comments, which is also not a good look. So you need to know how you want to react to criticism. Some comments can be deleted if they are just dumb and you really don't want to feed the trolls. But if there's reasonable questions and arguments, you need to react to those in time, because otherwise things will just grow and grow and grow. And that stuff happens so quickly on social media. That's one of the risks. And that is why you need systems in place to deal with that. So that also belongs into the sections, finding your voice, finding a way on how to deal with criticism, how to deal with questions that are maybe a bit uncomfortable, but that need to be dealt with. So not just the question, why do NGOs need social media? I've already talked about all the people that are on social media, why you should, why it's a good way to reach out. But these are some very specific things, specific benefits of being on social media. So you get all this exposure if you're doing it right. But you also know that just being on social media is not enough. You need to post, you need to reach out, you need to have good content, but then you can get very, very high exposure. Small NGOs have managed to get very high donations and a very high visibility through using social media in a smart way by using pictures, etc. Visuals attract a lot of attention here. So pictures, videos, but be careful of what you share. We talk about that a lot in our other webinars. You need to treat beneficiaries respectfully, obviously. And social media, that's sometimes a bit tricky when we share pictures of participants. So we want to always make sure that those are pictures that are treating people respectfully. You have to ask for consent if you are allowed to share pictures of them. Be very careful about sharing pictures of children. Don't use pity please. Don't share like pictures of sad, poor, sick children, because that transports not the best view. It's always better to use positive pictures, to use pictures of your work after you've already achieved something, obviously, and only with the consent of parents and people that you depict. So look at decide strategically which kind of pictures you want to share. But then you can also share your events, share your work. You can do direct fundraising. So there are some tools you can directly use on social media platforms, but you can also plug in your crowdfunding campaigns, plug in your account number, and just let people know what you need. So it's just a very great tool to reach out, to make connections, and to find out what people want. And then it's a very direct connection to your audience. So when you talk to, or when you have project participants in your audience, you can always ask for feedback, ask them to tell if your projects are doing well, what you need to change. If you are in direct contact with donors, you can ask them what they want to know more about, what you can do to maybe increase donations, what they want to see, etc. It's a very direct connection, which is always great, because fundraising is about connections. Fundraising is about networking, and that is what you do on social media. You have great tools available directly on the platform. So you can use the messaging tool, directly message people and start a conversation immediately. You can use polls, so you can ask, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? You can get direct feedback on your work, on projects, on campaigns that you've shared, etc. You can connect with potential donors and supporters, and again, ask them to share your work, to extend your network even further. And you can connect with similar organizations. So that's also very good on LinkedIn. You cannot only connect with potential donors, foundations, etc., but also with organizations doing very similar work to yours, because you do want to do that. You want to have a good network of other organizations, because they might share some crucial information with you. They might give you tips. It's always good to be well connected in your field and in your area of work. So yeah, that you extend your network constantly. It's using social media is a very good way to, an easy way to get a new audience, because if you think of like traditional marketing, how it used to be 30 years ago, you'd have to pick up the phone to find new people, new potential donors, new people who might be interested in your work. You needed to get into the newspapers, etc. Now, if you're lucky and people share your stuff, if you know how to run a social media account, you can get so many new eyes on your content without a big investment, besides time and resources, also resources from within your organization. So that is a great way to go about it. Social media also offer direct fundraising tools. They change a lot, though. I think Facebook has changed up their system a bit as well. But still, you can use that, and people tend to donate here very quickly. Also, when you want to run crowdfunding campaigns, and again, we have webinars about crowdfunding on our YouTube channel. You can check that out. You can use social media, obviously, to get the word out about your campaign, to get more eyes on your campaign, to ask people to share the campaign, and just get more people to donate. That's a great way, and it works like a snowball system, because if one person shares and then another person shares, then so many new eyes will get on your content, and that is much easier through social media than it was with traditional marketing tools. And now we will just very briefly look into how to make a successful fundraising campaign, just on social media, just going through the very basic steps that you have to do. And again, if you're interested in that, you can let us know in the chat. We can also do a webinar, just a full webinar on how to make a fundraising campaign on social media. If you're interested in that, just very briefly, you need to create a plan for this. Again, this is the same as anything you post. You need a communication strategy, you need a communication plan. And when you have a campaign within that plan, again, the campaign needs a plan. Maybe you get sick of us always telling you to write all those strategies and plans, but it's just so much easier if something gives you direction, because otherwise you're just always limping behind, forgetting stuff, forgetting where you should place things, where you should make sure that people know about your campaign, etc. So having a plan with a timeline is going to really help you to then just implement it. And then you don't have to ask yourself every day, oh, what do I have to do? But the plan will tell you what you have to do, and you can just move on through with it. So obviously, when you want to run a campaign, the first thing you do is you set a fundraising goal. How much do you want to raise? How much do you need to raise, and for what? Then you create a theme and a title. So just making sure everybody knows what this is about. On social media, you can also choose hashtags to share and use to make sure that everything is connected to your campaign. If you ask everybody who shares your campaign to use the same hashtag, you can also find the shared content pieces. Again, you can comment on stuff. It's going to make it much easier. And it's also going to give you a higher brand recognition. Make a timeline, pick your start and end dates. Don't make it open. With a campaign, it's always important that it has a specific end date as well, because otherwise you don't have any pressure to do the next steps, and people don't feel so pressured to donate. Then you have to create a content calendar and a schedule. So what kind of content needs to be posted by when, on which platform, what do you need to do for that? If you want to collect donations through other forms than your bank account directly, you need to build a landing page with a clear call to action. So that's either a normal landing page or a crowdfunding page. You need to assign team roles during the campaign so everybody knows what they have to do, what their role is. And obviously, you need to monitor and evaluate by the end to see what has worked well and what hasn't. So, and a campaign doesn't always have to be huge. You can start a campaign to collect $1,000. If this is something, whatever, if you just need to renovate your school building and you just need a little amount of money, that you can run a campaign for that. Those can be very successful as well. And using social media to talk about this, to document this, is a great way to get new eyes on your campaign and get more supporters and make sure that this is, the word about this gets out. Facebook has some fundraising tools that you can use directly, but I know I'm not going to go into too much detail for this, because I know that many of you will have difficulties connecting your bank account to those tools, because it's even a problem in Germany because they have such weird rules. And I know if you don't have a credit card, it can be very tricky. But in general, they have these things available. It's super important to develop your network on social media. So as we said, if you just post content once or twice, nothing will happen. it needs constant work, constant posting, and constant engaging to develop your network, because then people will start following you, liking your page, commenting on your page, and then you will grow. Developing your network, though, is important all the time, and not only when you have a campaign. When people only get contacted whenever you have a crowdfunding campaign or a campaign in general, they will get very tired very quickly, no? So you always have to do that community work. Sorry, I'm a little bit have issues with my voice. Again, make sure that you have the resources to constantly interact with your network or to do the steps that you want to do, and also develop other adequate means of communication. Because one of the risks with social media that you really have to understand is you can develop your network, you can have many, many likes, followers, etc. But in the end, the network decides about your fate. So if Facebook, for whichever reason, decides to terminate your page, every connection you have there is gone, which can happen for some reasons that sometimes you can't understand, sometimes they're very clear. So developing another means of communication like a newsletter is always to be recommended, because a newsletter list, nobody can take that away from you. You own that, and you can work with those addresses as long as you have the double consent form, etc. So I think trying to move people from your social media platforms to something else also makes sense to kind of secure your connection with them. Because if somebody at Facebook or at Twitter or whatever decides that your platform, your profile is going to be closed, then there's not much you can do against that, or if it gets hacked or something like that. So trying to move at least some people over to a newsletter makes a lot of sense. And then in general, on social media, it is very important to create emotion with your content. So that can be through stories, can be through visual aids like pictures, videos, etc. But if you want to learn more about that, look at our webinar about storytelling, where we go into much more detail about this, because the fact when readers or viewers feel something positive with your content, that will translate much better into donations, into actual monetary contributions, than if they don't feel anything or if they feel something negative. But again, if you want to learn more about that, please watch the webinar about storytelling, because that's where I go into much more detail about this. Now I just have a couple of last slides that I will jump over. Best of luck with your campaign. Best of luck with your social media use. We're coming to the end of this webinar now. I want to pitch one of our courses, though. On philanthropia.org, we have many, many online courses about different topics. We have all the webinars, again, on our YouTube channel, so please subscribe to that if you haven't already. On philanthropia.org, we have online courses. We have a couple that are free. We have a couple that are paid. We developed one about online fundraising, which doesn't only touch upon social media, but also the website, newsletter, other means of communication, etc. So usually we sell that for $75. But today, because you joined this webinar, you can get it for 50% off for only $37.5. When you go to the link, and I think my team will post the link in the chat, and now you just use the coupon code webinar 2023. And you can use that coupon code to get 50% off of this course. It's a great course that gives a good introduction, again, about talking about the website, email marketing, social media, all the different platforms, etc. So it's really going to be useful for you if you're interested in that topic. We have many other courses on the platform, some specific ones, some more generic ones. So, for example, fundraising from US foundations or from USAID, those are the more specific ones. Proposal writing, strategy development, all of that. So check out philanthropia.org. We also have free courses that you don't have to pay for. You just sign up and you get the course. And for this also, we want to offer you a coupon code for 35% discount of all of the courses on the website if you just use the coupon code Fundraise. So please take advantage of that. If you want to get any of our courses, use the code Fundraise and get it for 35% off. Then we also offer a service called donordatabase.org, where you can sign up and just search our database with potential donors for your causes. You put in your country, you put in your area of work, and it gives you a list of potential foundations and donors for those causes. There's over 5,000 donors profiles available on there for all the countries in the world. So if you are looking for institutional donors, I think donordatabase.org is a great tool that you can use, and you can use it for free for 1 week. And afterwards, it's a paid service. But if you, after 1 week, decide, well, we've taken the advantage we need, or it's not for us, you don't have to pay, obviously. Yeah, now we still have a little bit of time for questions. Thank you so much for listening to me. Good luck with everything. If you have any questions, please let us know on info@philanthropia.org. If you have feedback for us for our webinars, we would love to hear, especially if you have like successes after following some of our advice. We would love to hear about that. So please reach out to our email if you have any stories that you want to share with us. Again, on philanthropia.org, you find everything that we offer, all the resources. Some are free, some are paid. You can find there, so please check out the website as well. Okay, now let's see if there's some questions. I see a little bit in the Q&A box. So there's a question about the data. If there's data for Europe or other regions about social media use, I'm sure there is. Some of the stuff I showed you was global, on the global scale, but I'm sure there is. If you just Google that, I think that data is out there, because it's very easy to find it as well, because they just have to count the hits, and all the social media platforms always publish this kind of data. So yeah, if you Google, I'm sure you will find more data about social media use. If we already have some links, I will ask my team to post them as well. So if you follow us on social media, maybe you can you will see it there if we already have something. Otherwise, again, if you Google that, I'm sure you will find it, because this is published frequently. Then Lenore is asking, how do you reach your target audience, adding numbers of viewers? We only have a few. That is hard work, and there's a couple. You can find a lot of advice on what to post on social media. There's some courses out there as well. You can learn about SEO and all this stuff, which is even important on social media. But I think what is important is posting constantly, posting. If it's once a week, that's fine, but not like 1 week 3 times and then again after 3 weeks. Trying to post constantly, trying to post engaging content with open questions that people want to answer to your question, that there's a conversation, and that way the algorithm will see that people engage with your content, will show it to more people. If you have stuff that gets shared, obviously that is how you can add people. You can always you can also comment with the profile of your organization on others' profiles, so that they will know about you, and don't make the mistake what I see many NGOs make, that they just post a link to their page or to their crowdfunding campaign, and that's that. But always contribute useful information, useful content. No, if don't make everything about the money, that you want money, that you need this, need that, but contribute your knowledge, whatever you have to say, to conversations, and then people will find you interesting, your organization interesting, and maybe follow you back. I think those are a couple of things that you can do to reach more numbers. Yes, we will send out the presentation to your emails when you signed up for this, so don't worry. Yeah, we share it. And Stephen is asking, as a grassroots NGO, what strategy do you advise for an effective social media presence? I think, again, I would choose 1 or 2 platforms that you want to be on and that you can be on with good content. And I think a good start is Facebook, because you have the reach, you have the number of people, you have people that are able to donate something, so that have some money, that are wealthy on Facebook. So I'd start with that and think about things that you can post. And again, you don't only want to post nice pictures and that's that, but you want to start conversations, because if people are reacting to your content and commenting, the algorithm sees that there's something interesting and they will show it to more people. So you kind of want to start conversations. So you should don't only post, we did this, we distributed this week, we had a meeting this week, but ask open-ended questions like, just whatever, what do you think about child labor? Or when you buy a new pair of jeans, are you interested in where they come from? And then you can start talking about labor rights or whatever your topic might be. But starting conversations, sharing content that is helpful for people, I think is the key here. And trying to reach, trying to grow your network first. And when you have a specific number, and have a specific amount of people following you, you can also start whatever, a crowdfunding campaign, pitching ideas to them, etc. But I think building the network first is the more important step. Is it realistic to post twice in 2 months, or is that not enough? I think once per month is, I think if you post only once per month, you will probably not get new followers on the platform itself. Like, the algorithm will not show your stuff to many people. But if somebody searches for you, I think it's good to have at least some content. So it's better than nothing. And if you want to really use social media to proactively reach new people, you need to post more, I think. Then it should be at least once a week. It depends a bit, again, on your goal with social media. If you want to gain a huge following on social media, or if you want to be on there to be found when somebody searches for you, if you want to be able to link from your homepage or stuff like that. Depends a bit on the goal that you want to achieve. Then there's a question about diversifying funding sources to ensure sustainability. We have a full webinar and a full online course even on the question of sustainability. Also, you can find stuff on our YouTube channel. So if you want to learn more about that, I recommend you check that out. Then there's a question about the donor database. You can find institutional funding there, or project funding, whatever it might be. So you can just check out all the different kinds of donors, and then you obviously have to check their websites and see what kind of contribution they give. Oh, what is the algorithm? That is the system that kind of decides what gets shown to whom. Every social media platform has like a calculation behind it that calculates what kind of content gets shown. So sometimes, in the beginning, Facebook was all about videos and pictures, and if you had a picture or a video, it got shown to more people. We always said, like, the algorithm likes that because that was the kind of content that was pushed. Now, if you post a link, that the algorithm doesn't like that, because then people would click the link and leave the platform. Obviously, the platform wants that you stay on the platform. So posts with a link will not be shown to as many people as posts with a picture. So you kind of have to understand this calculation behind it, and that's called the algorithm, to know what kind of content they will show to more people, or will kind of hide because they don't want many people to see that. And then there was a question about LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn it's great to connect with institutional donors. So if that's also on your radar, then I think that's a very good idea, something good to do. It can be good to connect with major donors if that is what you want to do. But if you're running a crowdfunding campaign, well, I think it can still work, but it's a different kind of audience, a different kind of communication, obviously, because it's a professional network. And usually on LinkedIn, organizational profiles don't do very well, but personal profiles do. So if you, as a person, with your personal account, want to support your NGO with this, I think it can make a lot of sense to work LinkedIn, to have a profile there and promote your work. If you are just working for an organization and strictly it's not connected because it's not your organization, or you're just working a job, I think it should be more towards the back of the line. Then there's other platforms that you could use before that. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. It's been an hour already. Time always passes very quickly in these webinars. Thanks for joining. Also, thank you to everybody joining us on YouTube Live. It's always great to have you. We have another webinar in 8 days only. Let me check. I think it was on the 30th of August about open data in fundraising, which will be very, very interesting. So if you want to join for that, that would be great. It's on the 30th, again, at the same time. Yeah, we will publish the next topic. I think communication strategy sounds like a good topic that we will also do very soon. And I hope to see you all again in one of our next webinars. Thank you so much and see you soon. Bye-bye.